Health is built and then it's supported. But many people skip over foundations and go straight to optimization. So when it comes to your health and your wellness, your symptom is not your foundation. Your symptom is a sign that something is off balance and a foundation has shifted and something is off balance in the body. A symptom is a sign that other areas of your body need support. And optimization is a step-by-step process. When it comes to your health, it is what we are doing most often consistently that is going to have the biggest impact and outcome on our health in general. You are showing up for everyone else, but somewhere along the way, you left yourself out and put your health on the back burner. The woman who takes care of everyone else needs someone in her corner too. Hey, I'm Cher, a certified holistic nutritionist, Christ follower, wife, and mom. And I created this podcast for you. Style and Stewardship is for the Christian woman who is done surviving her days and ready to steward her health legacy on purpose with real food built for the season of life that you're in. This is lifestyle stewardship for the woman who wants to do well, be well, and hear well done. I'm so glad you're here. On a consistent and daily basis, incrementally building, you're trying to make a major shift in your health or the way that you're feeling in, say, a 6-week period or a 3-week period. Those things can be really helpful after you've gotten to a place of foundations, because the foundations are going to support the optimizations. The optimizations are not going to support the foundations. So analogy again with the building the house. If we are starting with a roof before we set a foundation, the house will not stand because a roof cannot be supported. Gravity is going to bring it down, right? Real life is going to bring it down. The things that are consistent in your life and in your lifestyle are going to bring that roof down because the foundation is not there. And if we want and we desire that optimization, there are steps that have to come first. And I guess I'm doing a series on the steps that are necessary because when I work with someone, it is a step-by-step process. It is a 3-month partnership of getting the data from your body and then facilitating the things that you ultimately desire after the foundations are there. So the foundations have to be there. What are some of the foundations? The foundations when it comes to your health and your wellness, your symptom is not your foundation. Your symptom is a sign that something is off balance and a foundation has shifted and something is off balance in the body. A symptom is a sign that other areas of your body need support. That's what they are. They are pointing, they are clues, and they are necessary, and they are God-given for us to understand that something is not right. If there's a condition, I forget what it's called, but there's a condition where the pain receptors aren't there. Something happened with the nerves, and they don't send the signal to the brain that something has been hurt or impacted in the body. And these people have to live in basically a bubble because they could do something like get a splinter or have an infection and not even know about it because they're not getting the pain signal. So pain is it's gonna sound crazy, but pain can be a blessing in a sense. Not when we think of blessings, sometimes we think of a good thing that is butterflies and rainbows, but when we even read scripture, it doesn't paint blessings as this thing that immediately we know that it is a blessing. Sometimes it takes us looking backwards and saying that was a blessing. Jesus dying on the cross was a blessing for us. And we call it Good Friday when we acknowledge this and celebrate it in a sense. But an innocent man was killed for our transgressions and gave up himself, living a perfect life, to die for our sins. And we call it Good Friday because it was good news for us, because finally a sacrifice that could cover all of our sacrifices, where they didn't have to continually bring bulls or rams or goats or sheep they were sacrificing each year so that the sins of the people could be covered as well as the sin of the priest. We're under grace, and we're under that grace because of Jesus. His horrible crucifixion and is a blessing to us. It feels crazy to say that, but I just wanted to give a really, really stark example and extreme example of the fact that blessings may not always look like that at first glance, but we can look afterwards and say, that thing that happened blessed me. I can look back at my own life and say, there were, David writes in the Psalms, before you afflicted me, I went astray, right? It was these things that brought him back to God and made him realize, hey, I'm sinning against God. And it was the symptom of his life and what was going on in his life that he realized by the grace of God that he needed God's salvation. He needed God's rescuing. So let's park that right there. But I just wanted to give that because this podcast, this is for believers. If you're not a believer, I've shared several other episodes and Jesus died for you. We can't live a life that's pleasing to God and without accepting his sacrifice. And I've shared other podcast episodes on that. But it hit me as well that sometimes we think that because something is painful, that it's harming us. And I read so many areas where some of these painful things that we experience point us to God. And I can, speak to that personally. I just wanted to encourage you in the fact that just because something feels bad does not mean that it is bad. It feels bad. The experience is bad, but it doesn't mean that the outcome of that thing is bad. So, yeah, I wasn't necessarily expecting him to say that, but I'm going to go with that. Thank you, God. So when we are trying to lay foundations for our health and we decide that we want to be healthy, we want to have vibrancy, we want to have resilient health because things are going to happen in this life, right? We live in a fallen world. As always, this is not the Garden of Eden, and we're going to eat things that are not necessarily good for us. And then actually I can point back to the Garden of Eden and I can say we will eat things and did eat things that were not good for us. There's so many parallels, right? Your body, this vessel, requires certain things, certain good things done consistently over time before it can support the things that you want to optimize. So we have to start with good before we get to great. We have to start with the practice of honing the skill of supporting our health because it is a skill. It's a practice. It's not something. We're not accidentally healthy. We're not going to just fall into health one day. Health is truly built, just like a house. And it is a step-by-step process. And many people are after shortcuts these days, and these shortcuts end up hindering the very foundations that aren't there to begin with and making them worse. Those cracks get bigger and bigger because that's not what's dealt with. So, done with the analogies, let's talk about real, practical, everyday things. There are things that we are doing that are either building our health or they are depleting it. Let's talk about sleep. I did an episode on this. I will link it in the show notes or the description below, where for some reason we skip this area and we think that I know people that will lose sleep in order to get up and go to the gym. And though that optimizing thing is there, the foundation is not there. This is a very literal, practical example of what it looks like to put the cart before the horse. We like to start in the middle somewhere or at the end. And I would encourage you that sleep is foundational. It is foundational for a myriad of things. Let's just talk about a couple of things that happen when you sleep. And I mean restful sleep. Well, one, your body gets rest. Two, your brain literally gets cleaned of debris, cells, just cellular trash that the body needs to get rid of. Your stomach gets rest, right? Rest and digest. Your stomach gets rest from constantly having things put in it. Repair of your cells, repair of your gut lining, all of these things are happening as you sleep. Muscles that you may have broken down during the day or during a stressful event are getting rebuilt. Your body is taking the things that you did that day and is in a position where you're not walking or talking, unless you talk in your sleep. I'm just joking. Where we're not doing all these other daily functions that require the body to be on and not kind of powered down in a sense. Think of your body as when you go to sleep, you're being put on the charger, right? You're not running on empty. You're not getting that little light that's like, now we're switching, we're downgrading, your laptop. If you don't plug it up and it needs some juice, it's going to start saying that it's going to close some background apps. Our body's the same way. There are other functions that it shuts down in lieu of doing these other things that you're trying to do. So rest is paramount. And coffee is not a substitute for sleep. It is a stimulant. And I'm not telling you not to drink coffee. I love coffee, but it literally is a signal to your body to be in go mode. It tells your adrenal glands to pump out adrenaline. It tells your cortisol to stay elevated. It does many things. And when you drink coffee properly, it is amazing. There's polyphenols in there. It is great for attention. It is great for focus work. There are some other things that it helps with. It has antioxidants in it. So the issue isn't the coffee. So the issue is not getting sleep. So having coffee does not repair cells, clean the brain, allow the nervous system to rest. It doesn't allow that to happen. Why? Because we want to wake up and feel like we got sleep. This is a prime example of quote unquote optimizing something as opposed to foundationally supporting it so that that thing that you're optimizing isn't working against your foundations. If you don't get sleep, you're literally depleting and working against yourself. Hormones get reset when we sleep. There are so many things that are happening while you're sleeping. And if you are not getting sleep, your body will show it in different ways. It's going to show it in a lack of focus. It's going to show it in irritability because of your hormones, right? Directly cortisol. It is going to show it in terms of your cravings. It is going to show it. It's going to show up in quote unquote symptoms and feedback. And that feedback is going to be feeling like you need a second cup of coffee. That feedback is going to show up as your body not being as resilient as it could be. It's going to show up in irritability. I'm raising my hand. I am if I don't get 8 hours of sleep kind of person. If I don't get sleep and then time with God in the morning, I'm not a sweet individual. I'm just going to call myself out. It's not the most pleasant thing. So these things are necessary and these are baked into our physiology. We are created with this need. There is no getting around it, right? The only one who never sleeps or never slumbers is God. We are not him, okay? And thinking that we can push through and the hustle mentality that we have in our culture of getting ahead is in opposition to the rest that God created the body to need, giving us the ability to have, and also allowing our body to become more resilient, not depleted, and to support healthy foundations. So I guess I could call this our body needs rest. I'm not sure. I guess I can call this step 1, get sleep. But seriously. And then there are other things that are going to impact our ability to do that. And that's why when I'm working with someone, we work through lifestyle things. I'm not sitting here and giving you a meal plan and telling you go off and be merry. We're looking at what your body needs in the season that it's in. And I can say this for everyone, foundationally, you need sleep. And if there are things that are hindering sleep, that is one of the conversations that we have. And we look for ways that, hey, how are we going to support this thing that God created the body to need to do? How do we support this? Because many people are jumping right over the most crucial things that you can be consistent with that are going to build your health long-term and help you to be resilient long-term. The symptoms are signs and we need to not ignore them. And we get mad and we get frustrated about things that we can absolutely support. That is something that I like to help people do. We don't just look at what you're eating. We're looking at what data is coming from your body, from your blood work. And if it's in an optimal range, well, guess what I'm going to say? If it's not in an optimal range, then that's something that is a foundational work that has to happen first. So I like to make these things less complicated because I realize that it really is the simple things that are going to have the biggest shifts. And they're the things that you do most consistently, not the extremes or the optimization that many of us are jumping to before these things are even in place. So we don't want to try to force the body to do something that the body doesn't have the foundations and is not equipped to do. We want to start with the foundations first. if this has been helpful to you, I would absolutely love if you would leave a written review. That helps other people to find this podcast. I definitely want to reach the women that are just putting themselves on the back burner. They're not taking care of themselves. They're taking care of everyone else, and no one has ever taught them how to do that for themselves. So I don't know about you, but I want to do as many of the things that I can do that God has called me to do with the energy to do it and the resilience to continue and to have the endurance that I need to steward everything that He's given me to steward in this life. If that is you, continue to follow this podcast, share it with someone else. That written review would be absolutely amazing if you're loving the podcast. Share it with a friend or a family member. And we talk about so much more than just food here, obviously. Yes, I have a certification in holistic nutrition, but we talk about it all here. We're talking about all the things and all the areas that are impacting the stewardship of everything else in your life, because ultimately it all comes back to we are just managing what God has given us in this life for His glory. And I want to encourage you to do that. I feel like it's an area that I want to edify you in. It's an area that God has personally convicted me in. And this is something that I know that I'm supposed to be sharing. So share it with someone else, leave that written review. And if you want to work together in my 3-month program, you can go to styleandstewardship.com/apply, APPLY. It's a short little survey style to see if we would be a good fit. Then we get on a call from there. And together we have a partnership helping you to steward your health and your wellness, laying down those proper foundations for you uniquely and individually. It's all personalized. You can head to the description for that, or you can type that in your search bar. Until next time, your life matters. What you do with it matters. So what will you steward well?